Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Rob Cray here. And, I just wanted to talk a little bit about just the insanity that's happening around us. Um, I guess I'll start off by saying, I just don't even feel like this is the same country that I grew up in. I mean, I was born in 1984. Uh, the irony. But I was born in 1984. And I mean, as a kid growing up in the 90s, I felt like that in schools I was still taught patriotism. I still did the Pledge of Allegiance. And I wasn't taught that our country was evil and that our country was the bad guy. And I sure as heck wasn't taught that, that we should be ashamed of our history. My philosophy's always been that, yeah, there were mistakes made in the past, but look at how far we've come, right? Let's just say the issue of slavery, which seems to be still a big one for the left. My family never owned slaves. As a matter of fact, I saw a number somewhere that, around 1% to 2% or something like that of Americans back during the slave era had slaves. So we're basically talking about the 1%ers. We're talking about the super rich that had slaves. So that means, the large, majority, 99% of white people probably didn't own slaves. Now, also, the issue is that, okay, so if we're going to blame white people for slavery, then why don't we blame every other race that's also committed some form of atrocity throughout history? That's the thing, is everyone seems to have this short-sighted, vision of the past. And it's just insanity. I think the real agenda that's going on, is actually an anti-white, anti-West agenda. But, maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more in the future. But yeah, it blows my mind. Every time I turn on the TV, and I honestly don't watch a lot of TV, but more so, I guess, social media, I see some new post from the media attacking the right, attacking, traditional Americanism, attacking the values that we hold dear. And the biggest thing, I guess I kind of want to talk about was, in the post Charlottesville rally world, is this insanity of tearing down Confederate statues. Now, like I said, I personally don't have any family that I'm aware of that ever fought for the South. All my family, as far as I know, lived in the North. My family's, from the Midwest, and they've been there for generations. So I highly doubt that there's anyone in my family that fought for slavery, owned slaves, fought for the Confederacy for sure. And even if I did find some, distant relative that did, it's not gonna make me have white guilt for something that happened so long ago, And I sure as heck am not going to feel sorry, for for something that someone else did. You know what I mean? I'm not responsible for the actions of my ancestors. No one is. That's insanity. Saying that, I mean, that's like saying that, Asian people are responsible for Genghis Khan or something, I mean, it's just insanity. So the truth is, though, like I said, the reason I believe behind all this is that deep down, beneath the surface of this, and it's not even hard to, they're not even really trying to hide it anymore is the thing. I think that there's this anti-American movement, this globalist movement, and that's why people hate Trump so much, is he's kind of, the antithesis of that. He's the complete opposite. So that's why I think there's this hatred of Donald Trump. But yeah, I just, it's insane. Like I said, I just don't feel like this is the country that I grew up in. I don't think kids, a lot of schools now aren't requiring kids to do the Pledge of Allegiance. They're not teaching, even when I was a kid, I feel like I didn't get, as much of a civics lesson as I should have. A lot of, my knowledge and love of the Constitution and, of the American ideals comes from my own research. Because, yeah, when you're in school, you do the Pledge of Allegiance and stuff. But, I don't remember my teachers ever really going in depth and talking about what makes America great, like what it is that makes America different from every other country in the world. And that thing is the Constitution. So I think at the end of the day, that's what the left is coming for. Mark my words, and it's already started to happen. It's going to start with the Confederate statues, and it's then going to, well, now they're coming after Christopher Columbus. I don't know if you guys have seen the news stories recently, the past couple days, but they're trying to take down Christopher Columbus statues now, which is just nuts. Yes, he came to, he found America by mistake. He because of his interactions with Native Americans, millions of them died because of diseases and stuff. But how is that his fault? Like, that's just, honestly, that would have happened, whether or not it was Christopher Columbus, at some point, someone from the West was going to come to North America, and the people who lived here, the indigenous peoples, weren't prepared. Their immune systems weren't prepared for these diseases from the East. So at some point, they would have, the same thing would have happened. Let's just be honest, So it didn't matter if it was Christopher Columbus or some African sailor from Africa or what, it was going to happen at some point. It was destined, to happen. It's unfortunate, yes. But let's not, at the end of the day, we should also remember the fact that, yes, Christopher Columbus, maybe he wasn't the first person to discover America, I know there's some new theories that maybe the Chinese came here at some point, or even that Vikings at some point landed here. And obviously the native population was already here, so they're the true originators. But Christopher Columbus was the first person from the West, or from the East rather, from Europe, that discovered, the West as we know it now, North America. So I think he deserves some credit for that, don't you? I mean, we should, of course, acknowledge the fact that millions of Native Americans died, and because of a result of that. But at the same time, I don't think we should tear down his statues, because it's still a historical moment. It's still a very important moment in history. What important moment in history, doesn't involve some kind of bloodshed, I mean, the Civil War, I mean, back to the slavery issue, I mean, think about it. Sure, there were people that fought to keep the institution of slavery in existence, but at the same time, hundreds of thousands of people died fighting against it. Let's not forget that, So I don't know. It's just insanity. It really is. It seems like I don't know what the heck's going on in these colleges anymore, but they're basically being brainwashed. Like they're going in as one person and coming out a completely different person. And I went to college. I grew up dirt poor, and I'm tens of thousands of dollars in debt that I'll probably never pay off because I went to college. But, I was conservative before I went to college, and I managed to come out still conservative. And I remember when I was in school, like, I can't remember the class, but I want to say it was like sociology or something. But basically our teacher was, a Hispanic lady, and she basically told us, and this is about 10 years ago, she told us that, socialism is the answer. That, a socialist society is the answer to all, the problems in the West and stuff. And I just was blown away by that because, I don't agree with that. But I definitely saw it firsthand, and of course I back then felt, just like I do now, I feel, like a lot of times I'm in the minority as far as, some of my beliefs. But especially in college, I mean, if you're conservative, you're like the odd man out. And I could also think of, because I was a mass communications major, I had to do this radio. We had to make, little radio commercials. And I did a radio spot for the Minuteman, which is, an organization of like volunteers down in, border states that try to, keep illegals from crossing the border and stuff. And I did a little commercial that was pro, the Minutemen project, and oh my god, I got so much hate from people. I mean, I had this one friend that me and him I thought were buddies. We both were really interested in filmmaking. We had talked about working together on some projects, and as soon as he heard that, he stopped talking to me. He said I was a racist, and we've never spoken again. So I don't know, it's crazy, but I just want to say this too, that I don't think people are taking this as serious as they should be. I mean, we're talking, okay, so Charleston, right? Or not Charleston, I'm sorry, Charlottesville. When this Charlottesville rally, I just want to clear this up, was not a white supremacist rally. The media has completely taken control of this story. Of course, the media is completely controlled, but they're basically the leftist propaganda machine, as I explained in my last video. So it's insanity. They've completely taken the side of the counter protesters that were at this event, which were communists. Okay, Antifa, however the hell you pronounce it, is a terroristic, communist, cultural Marxist organization, okay? These people are admitted communists. They want to overthrow the United States government and institute a communist regime, okay? These people openly admit it. The media is openly supporting these people. They're openly supporting these people and calling them freedom fighters. I mean, wake up, people. This is insanity. It blows my mind that, more people aren't, just shaking in their boots right now about this. I mean, not to mention there's, these Antifa chapters all over the country in pretty much every major city now. And some of them are armed. Some of them are very militant. Some of them are posting videos where they're talking about, different types of weapons. They, make no buts about the fact that they want an armed conflict in this country, and that their ultimate goal is to overthrow, the white supremacist U.S. government. Insanity. And the fact that the media is supporting these people and calling them freedom fighters because they quote because they're out punching Nazis. But that brings me back to the Charlottesville thing. Once again, that rally was not a white supremacist rally. I don't care what anyone says. The people there made some mistakes, yes, okay? There were some white nationalists there. There were some Nazis there. There were some Ku Klux Klan members. But the media selectively, took photos and video of, people carrying Nazi flags and doing Nazi salutes. And they ignored the hundreds, if not thousands of other people that were there that were just, right-wingers that were trying to unite. It was called Unite the Right. And this is a point that I've been trying to get across in social media. I've kind of, gone across social media, have been kind of trolling the left, whenever possible. It's almost become a freaking full-time job at this point. But I've basically been, trolling the left and also trying to, drop some red pills and wake people up. Because I honestly feel like, we have a fight coming, and in, a decisive battle against, communism in this country, against the radical left. And I don't think people are taking it that serious yet. And I'm not sure what it's going to take to wake people up, but people need to get their shit together. Excuse my language. This rally was not a white supremacist rally. It was Unite the Right. The whole point of the rally was to get the various groups in the right, the Republican Party, alt-righters, get them together. Now, this is another thing I want to touch on too. For any of you that are, Republicans, that, more traditional Republicans or whatever, neoconservatives as I call you, religious right, do not fall for the media lie. They're trying to basically make the alt-right out to be, racist and Ku Klux Klan or whatever. That's not true. Sure, there are people, all the alt-right means is alternative right, okay? It's like various factions of right-wingers, people who are who consider themselves to be conservative, that don't necessarily agree with the views of the the larger party. Okay, so okay, yeah, there's gonna be a few nut jobs in the bunch, a few bad apples, a few Ku Klux Klan, a few Nazis or whatever. But we ought to remember that these people are a minority. Most alt-right people are not Nazis. They're not racists. All they are patriots and people that are conservative, that want that at the end of the day, I think we all kind of want the same thing. We just might not be religious per se or whatever. Like me, I'm not necessarily a religious person. So and I have a lot of issues with the Republican Party. I'm more of a paleo conservative, I guess I would say. But do not fall for those lies. Basically, what they're trying to do is split us up. They're trying to, put a wedge between everyone on the right, because I honestly think the left is terrified of the right coming together. We beat all odds and got Donald Trump in office. We elected Donald Trump against all odds, and now there's an all-out war with the media. So the right needs to come together if we have any chance of combating this insane left that's emerged. I honestly don't believe the Democratic Party is, I think anyone who is sane within the Democratic Party has already switched sides and voted for Trump during the election. Anyone who's still clinging on is an extremist. These people hate America. They might claim that they love America. They might wave American flags and stuff to seem patriotic, but deep down, they hate the institutions that this country stands for. They think this country is racist and was founded on racist principles. And I think a lot of them would like to see, ultimately us overturn the Constitution. So that cannot happen. We cannot let these people, make one step further than they already have. It's time to stand up. If you're sick and tired of this crap, if you're sick of them taking down monuments, if you're sick of being called a Nazi just because you disagree with them, that's the thing. They're calling us Nazis, but they're using Nazi tactics against us. Gestapo tactics. If you go and read a book about Nazi Germany, this is what the left is doing right now. They control the media, okay? Basically, the media, Hollywood, we're talking, the news, we're talking movies, we're talking radio broadcasts, we're talking books, literature, everything these days, social media is controlled by the left. I just got kicked off Facebook last night. I'm banned from Facebook for 24 hours because of some comments that I made. And left and right conservative voices on YouTube, Facebook are being silenced. So there is an agenda. There's an agenda to silence you if you disagree with the left. And if that's not Gestapo Nazi tactics, I don't know what is. The Nazis did the exact same thing in Nazi Germany. They basically silenced anyone that, was opposition to them or disagreed with them. They tore down statues. Another thing is they're attacking businesses now. I don't know if you saw, but they identified people who were at the Charlottesville rally, and they started, getting them fired for attending a rally. Can you imagine if we did that to the left? If we, got people fired for being at one of their rallies? Oh my God, they would be screaming, bloody murder. They would be calling us Nazis, saying that, we're authoritarian, whatever. But they're doing this to us. It happened to me, okay? I have a business. I think I mentioned in the last video that I do. I worked for the news for a while, and I also do, freelance videography and creative type stuff. I've had left-wingers attack my business page on Facebook. They've wrote bad reviews calling me a Nazi, saying that I'm a Nazi sympathizer because I made a comment on a CNN post. It's insanity. It needs to stop. You can't do that to people. And once again, this is a Nazi tactic. Back during the 1930s and 40s, before the Nazis basically stuck all the Jews in concentration camps, they were going around and putting stars of David onto businesses of Jewish people, basically to call them out and say, hey, these are Jews, don't do business with them. That's exactly what the left's doing to us. It's insanity, and it needs to stop. There was a point in the time in this country where we could disagree on stuff, but we would try to find common ground and try to move forward. Those days are gone. At this point, it's right versus left. It's either you're with us or against us, unfortunately. These people, if we do not fight back, everything we hold dear is going to be destroyed. Mark my words. They're coming for the Confederate statues now. Next, they're coming for Christopher Columbus, and after that, they're going to start coming for the founding fathers. There's already people on the left that are calling for it. They're saying, we need to take down Thomas Jefferson statues because Jefferson owned slaves. Washington, no, that I don't care what anyone says. That for me is the final straw, because once they come for the founding fathers, they're going to come for the Constitution, and there's people that have already called for that. So we need to wake up. This is my call to the right. It's time to fight. I know everyone, it seems like today everyone's gotten so fat and so comfortable, and, they're afraid of losing their jobs, and they're just so afraid of everything. But look, our ancestors would be ashamed they would be ashamed at the stuff that we're putting up with. Our ancestors would have fought a war over less than what's happening right now. Okay? So it's time to stand up. This is my call to the right. I don't care if you're, what you are, if you're an atheist, if you believe in God. I mean, if you believe in the Constitution and you love this country and you don't want to see it destroyed, it's time to come together. I mean, we need to come together for a rally, a Unite the Right rally. We can't let them silence us. They did it once at the Unite the Right rally, and we've got to come together. Not going to let us, but we've got to do it. We've got to do it, because if we don't, they're going to run over us. And so that's it. That's all I got to say is, it's time to stand up, guys. It is time to stand up. Do your part. This is a war. We're at war right now, and it's a cold civil war is what I like to call it. We're not, taking shots at each other yet. I hope that doesn't happen, but it could very well happen in the near future. But right now, I mean, it's a war of ideologies. It's Americanism versus globalism. It's Americanism versus communism. These people are socialists, communists, Marxists. They don't love this country. They want to change everything about our country. Obama, gave these people a voice. They came out of the woodwork, and, they've always been there. I think they've always been there. I told my brother I have a theory that, I don't know if you're familiar with Joseph McCarthy, but, during the 1950s and 60s, he was a senator that tried to root out communism sympathizers, Soviet sympathizers inside of our own government. And he believed that the media was controlled by these people, and that they, were deeply enrooted in the media. And I think he was right. I think that these people have always been there. They've been kind of hiding over the years, kind of brainwashing us through, the media. Slowly but surely, they've been kind of, hammering away, chipping away at, our culture. And I think over the last 8 years with President Obama, basically gave them a voice, and they just came out of the woodwork, and now they're not hiding anymore. I mean, I remember, 10 years ago, Democrats basically stood for the same things that, they ran on the same ticket basically that Donald Trump did, right? I mean, you can go back and find references of Obama and, the Clintons talking about, how illegal immigration is something that we need to stop, and now they're for it all of a sudden, and anyone who isn't for it is a racist. Wake up, people. Wake up. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Like I said, it's time to fight, guys. Let's unite the right.